Hi, John.
Hello. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm well. I'm well. Yes, yes. Well, summer's here and the weather's good, and I've been keeping busy.
That's
And
good.
you?
I'm debating this guy right now on Twitter that doesn't really seem to make an articulate argument about what is haram and what is halal, and he is using your idea uh, um, to say that that Islam is oppressive or something. I don't know.
He's actually an imam.
He's actually an imam. Oh, this is even juicier. Oh, dang! I started my own, but you started yours, so I guess we're on your channel. So if we can get him on here, that'd be awesome. But yeah, or tag him or something. I don't know. But does
Well,
he watch your channel?
yes, he does. I've certainly posted the StreamYard link, and yeah, he's been saying a few things about you. He said, I don't know. He says, is this guy supposed to be a Muslim? Seriously, I don't know him from Bob down the street. I guess it's some sort of expression. Um,
He could be like an agent, like a detractor agent, like
what do you mean? A
like a
detractor?
like a federal agent to detract from the word of law. Like it could be um, a hostile foreign agent, or not a foreign agent, but a federal agent of Islam, and obviously you are a very public figure, so obviously you're an easy target. So he gravitates around you, and so this is how he kind of justifies his work, I guess. You never know, man. There's some weird shit going on. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense of what he's saying though. Like what he's saying that, in chapter 2, verse 256, that there is no compulsion religion, and he just flat out says I'm wrong. And it's just like, well, prove it then. Let's read it out. He says he's supposedly an imam, and he's using this vague language of, oh, it's oppressive, and oh, and that's not what that verse says. And he's not even actually rebutting. He's just giving his uneducated opinion. He's not saying anything productive. So that's why I like to have him on, so we can get his word instead of and instead of us just bashing his arguments. So maybe he can actually have a chance to articulate any facts on the record, but all he has is uneducated opinions.
Okay, well, I will forward your messages and your Telegram user thing, so you two can get in touch on, either appear on each other's channels or whatever. But
Okay.
he's he's actually got a channel, and he's supposed to. Well, he has written a book, and there's a video, there's a stream of him and Carol discussing secular Koranism on his channel. And yeah, I've also streamed with him, and he's written papers about secular Koranism, which unfortunately he's deleted because he decided not to give me the oxygen of publicity. So yeah, actually, his reasons don't make sense. I completely agree with you. It's sort of like, how can you deny it? How can you deny that chapter 2, verse 256 exists? And how can you deny it doesn't support the First Amendment? But it's sort of yes and no at the same time. And yeah, it just drives me crazy. And Carol also crazy because she was actually the one who introduced him to me.
Oh, so Carol's like this too?
Well, no, actually, Carol supports secular Koranism. Well, not. I mean, she doesn't approve of my interpretation, but she, she does, to her great credit, ask people who complain about things like, "Well, have you got a better idea?" And they
Or
haven't.
I guess I could say like the one idea like the Muslims would criticize you is because you don't include that. Oh, you don't. You're not going to make people pray 5 times a day or fast on Ramadan. But
Yeah,
I was like saying, well, you could still be a productive citizen without it. And I mean, who prays 5 times a day? Honestly, who has time for that? So, but I mean, I'm not diminishing the power of prayer or anything like that. I'm just saying that,
Yeah, I
praying
mean,
5 times a day is
you, you,
it's kind of excessive, but you can use it to kind of, if someone is pissing you off, you can kind of use it. But anyway, that's beside the point. But like, beside the point of like, increasing sexual morality and having a moral system and eliminating idolatry, I think those are some good things. But the thing is, he's trying to use this like liberal language, like he's using oppressive, and he's trying to like snake his way through an argument, and pretending not to know the context of the words that he's using when he says oppressive, and then just outright lying what's on the Quran. It's just, I can't believe this guy's an imam, man. Like, oh, I got to do like a gotcha video or something, man. I gotta research for this guy. This guy's fascinating. I'll put him on blast in public. This like fucking incompetent imam, this coward imam is out here saying that there is no freedom in religion, or or he's using this vague liberal language that he's insinuating that Islamic principles are actually oppressive. Like all these like imams out here, they always wanted, like, it's just for the tokenism. It's just for, oh, look at his look at his dress, and look at, he's praying 5 times a day. Well, isn't that cool? But when it comes down to actually enforcing stuff, no, they don't want to offend anybody. Maybe they're afraid of getting deported because they're immigrants, or they're just like cowards, like this William guy who just likes to keep his status. That's the fact of it. If in this world, if you want to have status, you have to be a bit of a snake. That's just the way it is. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is.
and he's one of them. Yeah. And okay. So what he says is, oh, but you're not Muslim, therefore you don't have a right to interpret, the Quran. It's like, well, you can't stop us if that's what we want to do.
He should be encouraging you to read the Quran. If anything, if he's an imam, just like you should be reading the Quran more. If anything, what is he saying, that you have no reason to be reading the Quran because you're not Muslim? Come on.
No,
He just sounds like a priest. He just sounds like a Catholic priest.
Yes. Well, he used to be a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, okay. A Jehovah's Witness. Oh, I see. I see. Okay, I see this kind of the carryover of Jehovah. You know what they believe in, like, it's pretty exclusionary Jehovah Witnesses, and they're pretty they can be pretty condescending with their beliefs sometimes. And I think maybe that's what it is. He used to be a Jehovah Witness, and he's carrying that over. Oh, that makes sense now.
Well,
A little bit.
I don't really. Okay, I have a few theories.
A little bit, not really that much though.
No, I mean, Vincent's all right. I mean, okay, I find Vincent all right. I mean, I think he's sort of more principled as a Christian, as a Jehovah's Witness, than the Trinitarian Christians. Have you spoken to Vincent, Bruno, ever? I don't know if you have or not.
No.
But
maybe a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, he's a gay guy who he's going to be on Adam Green talking about Mormonism and Masonry. I think that's his 5th appearance. I mean, if you're into Adam Green, but Vincent's sort of, he's known to be a guest, and but okay. Cool. Vincent's the only Jehovah's Witness I sort of known for any length of time. But then he's not a normal Jehovah's Witness. He's kind of, unique in a way. But yeah, so basically, William, it's sort of saying yes and no at the same time. Yes and no, he doesn't like it because I'm not a Muslim, and then he keeps asking me, do you pray? Do you do? It's like, but I'm not a Muslim. I never even said I was. But I'm saying that secular Koranism would unite social conservatives in the West, regardless of their religion or race. It's, if you think things have gone too far, the liberal progressive way, then, and you want to bring things back under control, but you see that nobody believes in Christianity, and in any case that there are no real rules in Christianity. So the only thing you have is the Quran, and I mean that's basically the premise of it, and I don't know if you heard. A lot of people say, why don't you just become Muslim? And I say, no, because, the whole point of my taking the stance of an agnostic is that you can see, even if you don't believe in God, the, social, economic, psychological reasons for these rules, for these laws, which would be better for you if you followed them than if you didn't. So, it's not like, oh, yeah, you can only you have to believe in God before you can see the point of these laws. I'm saying you don't. Because you can see.
Is that why he's against you? Is because you're like, you don't
Probably
necessarily
because I'm a woman.
believe in them? Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
well,
maybe.
I mean, but he makes up a lot of excuses though, and he just like he diminishes his own argument by lying. So you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know
I mean,
what is what's so credible of what he's saying. What are the facts that he's bringing forth right now, other than his lies and his uneducated opinions? Honestly, like what does he have? What does he have to bring forward? That's why I kind of want to talk to him today. Like what is he offering? What is his rebuttal, other than Claire is a mean person, or I don't like Claire because she's a middle-aged Malaysian woman. I don't know, like what, or that the Quran is oppressive, or I don't know, like what is he even saying at this point? What is this snake even saying?
it doesn't make sense. His reasons actually don't make. They so don't make sense that I can't remember them really. It's not like he had a sort of winning argument, but basically, he's saying it's because I'm not Muslim, but not because I'm not Muslim. So he's saying two contradictory things at the same time
Yeah, he's
without
just
being
lying.
really aware of it, which drives me crazy. And so I try to
So he
see.
has no honor, but he's an imam. Is he
Hmm,
actually an imam, or are you just
I
getting
sent
the
you
rep
a
for sure?
link of his where his papers are, so you can get a sort of brief
I can read
bio
him.
and brief. I was going to send you the video of him and Carol talking about secular Koranism. Yes, I've done all that for you on Telegram.
I did see a little bit of it. He was like basically criticizing Carol because of the implication of Sharia laws in Congress, or whatever, secular, whatever you want to say. Uh,
He's
he
basically
was
a
just
student
saying, "Oh well, then
failure,
this
and
it
he
has
wants
to
to.
be passed by the Senate, or whatever, or it has to be
Yes,
passed by Congress, and passed by Senate, and it's not going to happen. You have to get like 60% of the vote." I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah. I mean, but that's stupid, isn't it? Because the whole
yeah.
point is that look. I know it's a long shot, but the thing is, if the idea is sound in principle, then you should go for it. And he can't show that it's not sound, because it's like, I mean, you can't as a Muslim say, I don't want Sharia, but I do, which is what he keeps doing.
Well, I feel
Yes.
like most Muslims do that in the West, don't you think?
Well, a lot of people do that. I mean, like Duvit with his multiple truth hypothesis is just saying, well, he's just trying to have his cake and eat it, saying yes and no at the same time, like it's raining and not raining at the same time in the same place.
Yeah, they don't. They can't take a stance on anything. So you know, they they sound like idiots at the end. They don't really. I think someone had a saying: is if you stand in the middle, the pole will come up your ass, or sorry, come up your butt. Sorry.
Yes. So,
That's what I interpret when I see these people talk, and it's just
yeah.
like I know they're full of shit, and that's why I like to get them on here on video, other than just Twitter, where it's just like a tweet and then it's just hidden in the corner. I would like to get it on video because it's not only good content, but it can also show people that mentality of people slithering away from their principles, and and not really doing what they're saying. And this guy being an alleged imam is really shocking to begin with. That's why I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's sometimes like PVK, like these people, they have like so much information in their head that they can manipulate. They feel like they can manipulate reality without standing on any principles.
Well, yes, I mean, I've watched Paul Van der Kay, and it's like, yes, he's quite a skilled YouTuber. People like his personality, they feel comfortable with him. He's not mean to anybody, and, a lot of his viewers say, oh, well, why are you so patient with, whoever, because they're so stupid. And I think, what are you trying to do anyway? And he doesn't really say anything clearly, and a lot of people just do that, and this brings me back to Week in Review when David and Jen were doing it. It's like they weren't really saying anything, but they were taking up lots of time by talking their nonsense, which never led anywhere, and was all about, look at me, look at how clever I am, look at the long words I know how to use, and all that, and I think the trouble is when you're afraid to say what you really mean because you're scared of getting cancelled, and all you can do is sort of display yourself, but not really say anything because you're scared. But in the end, they're going to get you anyway, because they're going to, if they're going to be ruthless, it's like guilt by association. These are the people you associate with, so we're going to get you because you associate with these people, and we're going to call them, whatever name they're going to call them. That will make them, outlaws or something, and get you because you're hanging out with them. So you might as well say what you think, what you believe to be the truth. But these
Oh
people,
yeah,
they think they're so clever and they can get away with it, and waste everybody's time.
yeah. That's a thing. I feel like, honestly, like part of me is this, like, because YouTube is like kind of cracking down on like people, and because I went this right after that I was on your channel. Your channel got shut down, so I feel like I'm like partly responsible for getting your channel shut down, because you associated yourself with me, and I got shut down already because of severe violations of spam and not even spam and scamming content, like this stupid shit. I don't even know what it was, but
Yeah, they
it
don't
wasn't
even
even
tell
hate
you.
speech. No.
They don't even find a video like, oh, this is the last straw. Look at this terrible video, and you said all these terrible. They didn't even say that. Were
No.
you even given a video so you can at least defend? Yeah, yeah. So this is
I,
what
I
we.
messaged, I actually messaged like real people at YouTube, and they're like, no, we're at the end of the rope here. There's nothing we can do. And I was just like, holy shit, like that's crazy,
But it's so obvious that they don't even review. Okay, you in theory have this option of appealing against it, and you appeal,
Yeah.
and it's like 3 minutes later.
You have like hours of content. They give you an email like 3 minutes later, say, no, we're sticking with the content. And then depending upon who you talk to, there's actually in Google, there's actually a live messenger app that you can actually talk to somebody. So actually talk to somebody. And depending who you're talking to, if you're talking to especially like a liberal, a libtard, they're like, no, we're at the end of the rope. We're sorry that your channel was deleted, and it must be a great loss for you, but we're at the end of the rope of this. See you later. And then I don't know if I want to keep pursuing it, but just with the whole thing would happen because there's a lot of CMP content with it. But if there wasn't like that CMP content in there, I probably would start pursuing greater measures to try to get it back. But I'm kind of not as motivated anymore because of what happened with the CMP. So, but anyway, but there is a way that you can actually talk to real people, but they basically say tell you the same thing too. So
Yeah, yeah. So it's just sort of even more annoying. But I mean, I've got, it was synced with Odyssey, so my main channel is still there. So yeah, okay. So this is my idea for Odyssey. If it could just sort of do if they could host sort of special themed debates and make a thing of it. Because I was having a talk. So we were talking. Okay, Carol and I were talking about it. Islamic intellectuals and who's the greatest living one and that sort of thing. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of work out who is the greatest living Islamic thinker and why. And that would bring a lot of traffic to Odyssey and give it, just well, I don't know if it works if people, maybe people just want to stay on YouTube if they can, rather than go to.
Well, you get shadow banned in YouTube anyway.
Yeah, and okay, while you think, oh, okay, maybe I've just changed because I've been kicked off YouTube. But while I was on YouTube, I wanted to be on YouTube because it's got all these functionalities and everything just worked better and but I think Odyssey is has a certain feel to it which Rumble completely lacks.
Oh really? I haven't been on Odyssey that much. I like Rumble. Like Rumble's pretty good, but it could be better. But I mean, if Odyssey. Yeah, I just haven't been on. I haven't been on Odyssey that much, but I used to go on Rumble, but no one goes on BitChute anymore. It takes like forever to upload videos. It's crap. Odyssey is, I don't know. I'll have to keep trying that out to see how it feels. But I know my default is YouTube. It's like probably not a great thing, but I'm not even. Yeah, it's a habit. I gotta kick it. I gotta start connecting. Can you connect StreamYard through Odyssey?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe I gotta do that to make an Odyssey account.
You have to the
Oh, you gotta pay.
But you can do it through OBS, and I know how to use OBS.
Oh, OBS. Oh, okay.
It's free, so you can you don't have to worry about your 20 free hours. And it'd be awesome
if you had like debate segment where you can debate people, but it seems like the notary, even like this imam doesn't want to really seem like he wants to debate anybody.
But okay, okay, this is a kind of old idea. I don't know if you were around when there was this alt-right leader thing came up. Were you around at the time? When whatever OV.
Wait, was I born before the alt-right? Is that what you're asking, or
no, there was a kind of leadership contest. Do you remember that Jay was sort of organizing?
Jay? Oh, Jay. Yeah. There's a heyday. Yeah. He was arguing. He was just like, oh yeah, I remember now. It was between you and Jen. And Jen was saying that she'd make a great alt-right leader, and then you're making your points about how you'd make a great alt leader, and then Jay wanted to have this platform of who's the greatest alt-right leader or nationalist leader or whatever it may be.
Yeah. He wanted to run on a ticket with OV and win over all of us. So.
Yeah,
so that was his cunning plan. I forgot who won in the end. It wasn't Jen, though, was it? It was somebody. Oh, I can't remember, but I know I still have it on my blog.
Was it like Thomas or somebody?
Thomas. Oh my God, I can't remember now. But I know it was
it was somebody like that.
Yeah.
Or Frederick or one of those people. Or I'm just naming names now. I'm trying to remember. Was it Norvin? Maybe.
Maybe it was OV. I think it was OV.
Was it OV? Oh, probably.
Yeah. So I'll have to ask Jay to for confirmation.
You still talk to Jay?
Well, I think we exchange insults on Facebook every now and then.
You're still on Facebook? No.
Well, have they kicked you off?
No, I just don't like using it. I like Twitter way more. I just find Facebook just annoying, and I don't know.
Well, it's mostly full of ads now, and people are so boring. And I have to scroll over all these ads, and there's so many, and these stupid reels, and And then people get shadow banned, and okay, it's boomers who like Facebook because they're more literate. They like, they type sentences and words, and we're just not Instagram people. It's like, oh, just a picture. There's no politics. We can, not really talk about
Yeah,
anything.
Twitter's just littered with politics.
Yeah, I mean, because I think everybody just hopes to get retweeted by their, Elon Musk or something like that. I mean, this is what keeps us on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
That somebody will, retweet us and like our tweet, and then we'll be famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's something going on with Elon Musk, and is it Tucker or somebody like that? Oh no, DeSantis. He apparently Elon Musk is supporting DeSantis now, and not Trump.
Oh, is it?
I think that was what I heard this morning, and he was on Radio 4 this morning, and I thought he sounded scared. Elon Musk. I mean, it sounded like because he decided that some woman was going to be the CEO, right? Do you remember? So some woman that
like the president, or she's like affiliated with the World Economic Forum, and people are criticizing Elon Musk for that because she's basically rocket stepping. Yeah.
So free, and Parler is gone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, it's not
I didn't
even.
use it. I didn't really care.
yeah, but I mean, I suppose, and then there's the other ones, and it's like, oh, there's nothing happened. There's literally nothing happening there because nobody goes there. It's like, I don't know, Siberia or something. So, I guess the idea is, you see, I'm trying to think like them. It's like, okay, just get these people off Twitter, off YouTube, and they can go to wherever, Truth Social, Odyssey, and then we'll zap them. They'll all go to Gab, and then we'll just nuke all these platforms, and that's the end of them. They're probably thinking that's how they're going to deal with us, right?
Yeah, like I think Elon buying Twitter though is a big step forward for nationalists, honestly.
Well, yes.
I find it like Alex Jones is back on, and I'm seeing Alex Jones tweets on Twitter.
Yes,
that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I know people are getting impatient or whatever. Oh, you said you were going to arrest the Democrats and whatever. I'm like, well, I mean, these things, there's a lot of things that go on. I mean, yeah. Oh, you're on Odyssey now, right? I could say the words. They overthrew the election. They rigged the election. Can I say that?
Oh no! No. Sorry, we're not on Odyssey. I'm on.
Oh shit! Oh no!
but you don't.
Oh, sorry. Election was fair. Joe Biden got the most votes. I apologize. Just redact that. Sorry.
Yes. Let's not. Yes.
Strike it. Strike it now. Motion to strike. So this in court. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I think good things are happening on Twitter. I think, I like the debate format. Like, people still love debates, love debating ideas. They like people that are that know their stuff, or that at least exude enough confidence to get a point across.
Who would you say is the best debater?
On the internet?
Modern day debate. Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. I'm probably the worst judge of that. Who could I say?
Daniel Hockey He's very good. Daniel Hockey Kutchu.
Oh, that Islamic debate. Oh, yeah, I would say he's the best debater.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's somebody called.
I'm probably biased, but that's what I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Non-Muslim debater, I would say, I don't know. Atheists suck. I hate atheists.
well, I suppose
um,
Fausch is sort of well known, but I don't like him. I don't like Destiny. I mean,
Roosh,
Rouge.
Roosh on is he even on the internet anymore, or
I don't
is
know.
he still is he herding goats or something?
I don't know. He has this, hobo beard, doesn't he? And I think he's going to be I don't know, he's going to be an Orthodox priest, or that's what I heard. I'm not sure, but he's got a Telegram group, but which doesn't allow comment. So
Okay.
but the thing is, he's obviously given up. And he even said when he said, "Oh, I'm just going to my mother's Orthodox church," and everybody, is over 50 or something, and so that's, it's not like he expects to meet the woman of his dreams and marry her
Oh, I see. He's given up on.
on everything.
He's still on activism and getting married.
I think he's given up on everything. But I think for Orthodox priests, they have to be married before they can become priests. That was what I seem to remember hearing. So I don't really know what's going on with him, but he's not politically active. But Daniel Hakikachu had a discussion with him. I don't know if you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think you should still be able to find it.
That'd be an interesting discussion.
And well, Daniel was pulling his punches.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I managed to speak to Daniel for a bit, for I think about 10 minutes or so. And
Oh, yeah.
you can find it on Odyssey.
Yeah. Actually, was it last year? I think last year Ramadan, like I actually was on a channel where Daniel was on there, and I actually posed like a question of I don't know what it was, but it was like how to, I guess it was like how to make what to say to Christians, I guess. And then we just like talked for like a couple minutes. I forget what it was about, but I remember it. Yeah, it was like a long time ago.
Questions about how to get Christians and also how to get Jews. Do you want to know what it is?
How to one up Jews?
Yeah. Yes, and they don't like it, and I know they were complaining about it because people like Judas was saying, "Oh, I was told by my rabbi to avoid you and your heretical views," and then another Jew, half Galician, said, "Oh, the rabbis are complaining about you because blah 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 blah." So
you're an uncomfortable person. That's all. You trigger too many people. You hurt too many people's feelings, Claire. You need to be more sensitive. Come on.
I think it's just because I think like a lawyer, and I've had made a study of their theological narrative. So I mean the Trinity is easy because you accuse Christians of idolatry, and then they say no, and then you say, but you worship a man, and they can't deny it. And then their last line of defense is, it's not idolatry to worship Jesus if Jesus is God. And then they run out of the room before you can say, how is Jesus God? So
how dare you? How dare you ask? That's you show your lack of faith.
Well, yes. And in the olden days, you get burnt at the stake for asking, right? That was why heretics were burnt. For saying, but I just don't see how Jesus is God. I just can't see it. Death by burning.
I think there was a scientist, I forget who it was, but he was pontificating of like, well, if there's life on on other planets, and we go to these aliens, and these aliens say, you ask these aliens, is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior, and he died for your sins? And they go, who is that? Like, he died for our sins? That's who God is? A guy on a stick? What? And so this guy is just like, well, how could Christianity be universal if we were to go there and preach that? And these aliens would be like, what's that? Like, you can't You can't really explain that, right? So it has to be kind of localized and be conditioned in your head for a long time to even entertain such a notion or even believe it to be true. And so he got burned at the stake for that, for even entertaining the idea that there's other life forms by priests, or
Right.
even entertaining, because the priest knew the consequences of that. I think it was Galileo. No, was it no, I don't know. Some astronomer. I forget the name.
Right, but because I mean, like in Islam, I mean, Allah is called Lord of the worlds, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of they figured it out all out, from already. It's like, and who caused the Big Bang? Well, of course, it was Allah, that kind of thing, and and then it's like, oh yeah, and the Quran, last message, so nobody can better us and all that. So it's quite well thought out.
Yeah.
Um,
But anyway.
yeah. So basically, I mean, if I mean the best way of attacking Christians is to ask, like, well, how is Christianity not idolatry? And then if they say, oh, but it's not idolatry to worship Jesus if he's God, and how is Jesus God? And they just can't. Well, they can't explain themselves properly.
No.
You
You
can
said
give them any.
you had an argument. You had an argument for Jewish against
Yes,
the
here
Orthodox
it is.
Jewish people.
Here it is. So do you know Jews have, well, the Torah has 36 capital offenses.
I believe one of them is like stoning for idolatry or sexual
Yeah.
or adultery. Yeah.
Okay, the lots, I mean, well, there are 36 of them, but anyway, they are capital offences, and it's not in dispute, because you can find it on BBC, GCSE, bite size, for pupils are doing religious studies, and the Jews, so it's not in dispute that there are 36 capital offences in the Torah, and this is very useful for us because because we also know that rabbis apparently told Jews about to be stoned to death or whatever, about to execute it in four ways. There are four ways of executing people, which is burning, beheading, strangulation, and stoning. So four methods and 36 capital offences. So and the rabbis would say to the person about to be executed, "Oh, don't worry. At least you don't have to have that to happen when you go to your next life, in the afterlife. So you'll be okay, and you don't have to face any punishments." But for Jews who seem to escape these punishments in this life, they'll have it waiting for them in the next, because of what this rabbis were known to say to Jews about to be executed. They say, there, don't worry. At least you'll have that bit of your afterlife over and done with. So when you get to the other side, you don't have that terrible capital punishment waiting for you after you've just died. So I see the whole idea is that if you've committed these capital offences and you didn't, you weren't executed for them in this life, but they're all waiting for you in the next. And then I guess the whole idea is that you're going to be, I don't know, stoned, and then you'll be resurrected, and then you'll be beheaded.
Or maybe you'll be aborted. Maybe you'll be aborted.
I don't know, but I mean, I think the idea works in that you've committed all these terrible offences, and then you get to the other side, they're all waiting for you, and so if you've got a whole, and it's possible, perfectly possible, to have accumulated more than one capital offence in one Jewish lifetime, because you get done for every little thing, for being a drunk and disobedient son, for bowing before idols, from breaking the Sabbath, sodomy, adultery, blasphemy, and a host of other sexual offenses. So, they kind of get done for every little thing, if the whole thing is true. So I'm saying to them, the only way you can escape it is to become Muslim, because then you can start again. And then, as a Gentile, you're not subject to all these 36 capital offenses, right?
Oh,
And
I see.
they'll have to agree that yes, as a Gentile, they're not subject to, death by stoning just for breaking the Sabbath, because it's not even a crime for a Gentile to do that.
Yeah, because the Jews are held to a higher moral standard in the Torah
Yeah.
than yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they get punished harder, worse, and this is one of the things that we're God's chosen people, chosen to set and uphold standards, over the rest of you, you know. And then every now and then they ask, oh, why does everybody hate us? Why do we suffer? And it's like, well, because you haven't done what you were supposed to have done. And then the question is like, oh, what were we supposed to have done? And then it would be, the answer is teach the Noahide laws. And the most important Noahide laws, which most people don't get. You know what the Noahide laws are, don't you?
I know that the punishment for idolatry is a capital offense in one of the Noahic
Yes.
laws.
So idolatry and blasphemy are forbidden
Blasphemy.
by the Noahide laws. I mean, the other five are pretty reasonable. Laws forbidding murder, laws forbidding theft, laws forbidding sexual immorality, laws forbidding eating an animal while it's still alive, and the positive commandment to establish a court and legal system. And I think most Gentiles will just say they're fair enough. We're not going to quarrel with that. But there are these two, idolatry and blasphemy. And it's like, well, the Jews haven't stopped it. They haven't told Christians, who are the worst forms of who practice the worst form of idolatry, because according to the Christian narrative, Jesus was executed for blasphemy. And what have Christians been doing? They have been worshipping somebody executed for blasphemy for nearly 2,000 years, and they can't explain it.
Yeah.
So my whole shtick is saying Jews can make up for lost time by ranking the four Gentile religions according to the Noahide laws. So Islam has got to be the most Noahide Gentile religion because it forbids idolatry.
You also have
Right.
freedom of belief,
Yeah.
which one alleged imam, says that doesn't exist.
So so the next one I say is Buddhism, because at least Buddhists technically are not, or they don't think they're idolaters, though you see statues of Buddha everywhere in the Far East. But the point is, if you look up the description of Buddhism, they say it's an atheist philosophy, and I guess you could say that what the Buddha did was to codify the morality of Hinduism, because Hindus and Buddhists are supposed to believe in reincarnation, and but Hindus don't really seem to have any code of morality, but the Buddha,
Well, a
listed
lot of those
the
religions are based out of like the caste system. Like the caste system was basically that it just placated people, and that well, in
it's
this
like
life
divide
you're gonna, if you do well, you're gonna reincarnate to be I don't know, a priest or whatever, or a political leader. If you do good deeds, right? Like that's one of their tenets of Buddhism and Hinduism, right? That's what people still believe to this day, right? So they get complacent and they just they don't really do anything, and then that's how you basically have a caste system. And I think the caste system is repulsive to most Westerners,
I
but
think it's more
some
repulsive than
Westerners take it on because it absolves them of any. They can just say, "Oh, well, you're preaching those Abrahamic Semitic beliefs. How dare you? You're just a, you know, you are just dividing people. I don't divide people." I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's mostly just white people who like fucking platitudes. Honestly, at this point, sick of these fucking white people.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is, the white people who think it's a good idea, they for some reason they just assume they're going to be they're going to be high caste, and it's like, no, why do you assume that you're going to be a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or
Mhm.
so they have no control, but they just sort of assume that they're going to be high caste, and of course that's not true, and okay, in a way it makes sense, a caste system, if you think of it as a class system, because you would expect the priesthood to be right at the top, advising kings, which is kind of what happened in Christendom anyway. And then, and then of course the second caste would be the military, the warrior caste, which would be the equivalent of barons in Europe, who
Mhm.
have all the land with all the peasants attached to it, who can be conscripted to fight wars. And then the third caste would be the merchant class, the vaishyas, I think they're called. And then you have the fourth one is the Shudras, which is labor, the laboring classes.
Mhm.
And actually, our society still mirrors this Hindu class or caste system, as you will call it. And then right at the bottom are the Dalits, the untouchables, who are basically unskilled manual labor. Right? I mean that's what they are, cleaning toilets and
The illegal immigrants.
yes, easily replaced by the illegal immigrants and
Yeah.
preferred. And with the government preferring the illegal immigrants. So
Why
I
is
think
it
that
you think that? Why is it you think that the modern person lacks a work ethic? It almost seems like it transcends race. It seems like people who've been here for multiple generations. The second generation is struggling with finding meaning in work and having a. I guess you get the big one would be family, and then it goes into work. Like you see all these like labor shortages. Like you see people like like you always see these hiring signs for like these kind of lower end jobs. Like no one wants to work them. I guess part of it could be like the government is helping them out or whatever. Their own welfare. They're not motivated, but like I don't know what like
well, it's a welfare
drugs.
state, isn't it? I mean, the
Yeah.
thing is, this is another thing about Islam. I've argued that Islam actually has an Islamic rate of tax, a flat rate income tax of 20% under called khums. 20%. It's a magic number. It's so low as for people as to not make rich people want to avoid it, because it's like, yeah, I can pay it, I'm rich, and it seems fair enough. So
Well,
I think it's
if you have a currency backed by gold or something hard, you don't really need to tax people. But I
yeah,
guess
but yeah, but the thing is, it's a welfare state that has destroyed the work ethic that you were talking about. I mean, you just can't imagine Europeans in the 21st century doing any other things that their ancestors did, because they'd just be too fat or mentally ill or lazy or whatever. They just can't do it. And so I think it's a welfare state that has made them, well, not good employees,
yeah.
because they think,
Well, I
oh,
mean, yeah, that's the thing, or even like having their own business and starting a small business. Our school system doesn't really teach people to be entrepreneurs or anything like that. It just teaches you to be a a good citizen and, single file and go online and just do as I say, not as I do. You know
Properly.
what I mean? It's just not really a good education because it just teaches you like regurgitate these facts, and repeat as I say, and you sit in a classroom 8 hours a day, just sitting around, and kids can't really agitated about it. Like it's just it's a horrible system. It really is. That's why a lot of people are homeschooling now. Like I actually agree with that homeschooling and bringing up your own child through your own morals as opposed to being dependent. Like you're still gonna have to interact with the society, unfortunately, but being self-sufficient as much as possible at this point.
Well, that's another form of white flight. The thing is, if you
Yeah,
pay taxes, you expect the government to educate, the next generation properly for its own sake. It's like, they've got to be fit to be hired and to do things that are useful, and they're not. So there's something wrong there, and not everybody is going to want to spend so much time with their children or know how to teach them properly. And I mean, it's just one of the things that people used to take for granted that, people that there would be schools to go to. And if you have schools, you might as well educate them properly and not just teach them to be gay and transgender and have sex with each other before they're, before they're married. And we're just being told to do all the things that basically our ancestors would be horrified at.
yeah.
And we can't even begin to complain about because we're so used to it now. It's like, oh, that's how we've always done it. But actually, no, maybe only in the last 50 years. And they shouldn't have started doing this rubbish because, if you think about it, the whole point of marriage is like, yes, you have to jump through a few hoops before you can enjoy reproductive rights. It's like, well, not everybody can breed, and if you want to breed, you make sure that somebody, of the opposite sex is prepared to marry you and put up with your crap. And you've got to sort of pretend anyway that you're fit to be married, and that's why you have gender roles which people used to be happy to perform because that was the only way to get yourself married. It's like, oh, what a he-man I am! Oh, what a pretty girl I am! I'm so caring, and I'd be so good at looking after your children. Whatever it is that they thought they were supposed to do. So that was the whole purpose of gender roles. And people were happy to conform because they wanted to get married, because they probably thought it would be a terrible tragedy if nobody wanted to marry them. But now nobody wants to get married because they can have sex without being married. That's why they don't care about getting married anymore.
Well, that's the thing is like women like are taught from their mothers like just to kind of belittle men, and our culture belittles men and masculinity, and and you're almost like you said, if you part of being a man is defending morality and principles and not just being not just fighting, but that's the thing is a lot of like platforms like YouTube, they will find a way to deplatform you if you are sticking to your guns and not, backing down. And it almost incentivizes people to. It incentivizes
just
like
sticking to your principles.
Yeah, it incentivizes leaders such as PVK and that white imam there to, be snakes and not really, be clear and concise and bring facts forward to their cause, and it diminishes it pollutes the well, and it's important to have these conversations and have these platforms, and so that someone can. Because I remember listening to Stefan Molyneux talk about family values way back before I even was alt-right, and it just everything clicked in my head about single motherhood and the philosophy of single motherhood, and even like having my own conversations with people on Facebook about it, and you know, the odd women getting triggered by my stances, and how, you know, having children out of wedlock is getting too common, and how it, you know, increases the
They are the
welfare state.
majority now.
Yeah,
They're the majority in Canada, the majority in the UK,
yeah.
and they say it's 40% in the States, but I'm sure it's much higher. And the thing is, that's another thing about democracy. No democratic politician is going to tackle that because they're going to be offending. Every time you see somebody illegitimate, two other people are involved, right? You know, if you have one unmarried mother, there is an unmarried father and the illegitimate offspring. So it's a trinity of sin, and that is electorally significant. So no democratic politician will ever address it. And in fact, one person did in the UK, and he was considered to be prime minister in waiting, and he made his famous Edgbaston speech. I don't know if you've heard of Keith Joseph. He was a baronet. He was a Jewish baronet, no less.
Mm-hmm.
And he spoke about the unmarried mothers in kind of dysgenic terms, like, we are destroying our human stock. Our human stock is being destroyed, and and he went on and on. You can find it. It's quite a good speech. It's a horrifying speech, and it was made in 1974. And after he made it, everyone went ape, and they went so ape that he was frightened into apologizing, but it was already too late. So basically, even though lots of people thought Keith Joseph was kind of prime minister in waiting, he couldn't take the job anymore, and then Maggie walked in and took his job.
I was reading somewhere that Margaret Thatcher was like infatuated with, like, she worked really well with gay men. Like,
I'm sure she can be very flirtatious, and that there were sort of men who confessed to being excited by her when she bossed them around.
oh, I see.
Yeah,
That's
there
so
was one
weird.
that said, "Ooh, I got such an erotic charge when she tapped me on my shoulder with the order paper." That sort of thing.
These are the people that run our government: gay men and
Pervy
lust.
men.
Yeah, amen.
And pervy men not afraid to share with us their perviness. But there we are. We're just too sexually liberated, and we have to, button it up and take it back in and all that. And everybody's just, well, is it going to be that hard? If you tell it to them straight. So okay, my little idea is that, obviously, if my message were to work, I would need saturation coverage from the BBC. There'd be Secular Koranism docudramas, and talk shows and game shows and all kinds of shit. It would be, but I think it can be done. Because I think most people can be made into believing almost anything if you can have saturation coverage.
Yeah, I'm a certain believer in that. I always say, it'd be good to capture the media and propagate your message. And some people are like, "Oh, propagate? You want to do propaganda?" Yeah, because I want my ideas to win. What do you want? You want to fucking squabble on the internet all fucking day? Fuck you, loser. But yeah, that's always a key to get messaging across, and to curtail people's behavior. And some people will think, "Oh, that's so horrible. You're wrecking their free will." And all this, like, shut the fuck up with the free will thing. Having the bullhorn is very important, and it is in this idea war of ideas. That's why they censor people with contrary ideas. They know how powerful it is to have a platform, and if our ideas can't even be debated, and not only that, but we get shut down. That means we're winning, right? But we're not, because we're shut down. So we got to figure out how to get back on. How to.
Yeah. I mean, and Vincent Bruno was doing this thing about Freemasonry, and I thought, oh, that's so boring. And then I realized that it was probably Masonry that built America, because that was Masonic lodges were really gentlemen's clubs, but cheaper, because I know, the London gentlemen's clubs, but they were just for the landed gentry, and for ordinary people, they still needed a club, and they needed to, be with good people, and the Masonic lodge, was that's how you distinguished, people, men, okay, men who had a stable family life, who could attend all these sort of meetings, compared to men who, went carousing, went to bars, picked up women, wasted their energy when they could have been, forming useful associations, and, be a member of a fraternity who would support them if they got into difficulties.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a demographic of men out there right now that are so black-pilled that they just don't even bother talking to women, like these incels? And it's up to and there's a lot of lonely women out there, and maybe it's up to us, or to practice polygamy, or be polygamous, and carry on multiple wives. I don't know.
Well, the thing is,
there's a marriage crisis, so I don't know. It's just an idea.
Well, the Jews and the Muslims
I think it'd be good.
Complaining about it. They're also complaining about it. So obviously there's something wrong with gender relations, and feminists talk about gender relations, but and I think, the right, to the extent that it is important, because, if you have really bad gender relations, then you're not going to marry. And if you marry, you're not going to stay together. And then the kids will be fucked up. The next generation will be fucked up. And that will be the end of your civilization, because every generation will be worse than the next. If you suffer from degeneracy, it just means it'll just get worse and worse and worse until you correct it, and we're not going to correct it under representative democracy, because there's no way any politician is ever going to say, yo, you unmarried parents, you're going to get punished.
100 lashes. Let's go.
So unless they
broadcasted on the CBC or the BBC.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that it can be done is like, oh, we done wrong, but we'll be better now, and we have to change our wicked ways, and we have to change our moral system and our political system, and well, to avoid World War III, perhaps we ought to. It's that kind of narrative that might just work, but only if, the fourth estate, if the mainstream media were unprepared to cooperate.
Yeah.
And I think, all this sort of time spent on social media can be a false comfort, because yes, we might feel better because we've just said what we wanted to say, but actually nobody cared. We just felt better, because we said what we did, but and nobody's taking us seriously because we did it behind an anonymous avatar, and we still can't organize unless we form some kind of hierarchy about, okay, I mean, I was talking earlier about, who's the best, who's the greatest living Muslim intellectual, or who's the greatest living philosopher, thinker, or whatever, and going back to, Jay's idea of this alt-right leader. I mean, obviously, nothing is going to get done unless you have leadership, and leadership is not a skill that is being taught or encouraged in schools.
No, it's not.
and maybe it's impossible to do it properly in a co-ed secondary school because it's too confusing for the adolescents because they don't know, who has high status, and the American high school system it seems to me to be pretty toxic. They have their sort of adolescent tribes of, jocks and nerds and cheerleaders and, geeks and they're all, horrible to each other. And of course you want to be if you're male, you'd want to be a jock. If you're female, you want to be a cheerleader, and everybody else is second or third class and gets kicked around. Isn't this the same sort of thing in Canada?
Yeah, we're America's hat, so it's pretty similar. I guess maybe the farmer might be a little bit higher class in Canada than in America, but other than that, I think that would be usually the farmer sometimes is a jock, but that would be pretty close to what we have in Canada.
Yeah, and I think fundamentally it's poisonous. I think it should the most sensible way of doing it would be secondary school, single sex schools, and people just study, and they're not even supposed to be entertaining ideas of romance. And if they do, it would be something secret, and then they after they finish their full-time studies, they can do they can do that sort of thing.
They can get married at 18. Remember, previous generations got married so young at like 18. It's very normal at the time. Now it's what, 30? Well,
yeah,
crazy.
So I guess if you're not having enough babies, then the demand for cheap immigrant labor will continue to operate in the minds of governments because the business organizations will say we need more, and
yeah. Well, that's the thing is like they're talking about, well, the immigrants, it's too much immigration with how much labor we have for building houses, and we can't house all these immigrants and all this stuff. And I've heard of East Indian immigrants leaving Canada because of how expensive it is, and they go to school, and then after they go to school, they can't find a really good job, so they just say F it. And also, too, the universities are also incentivized to bring in East Indians, especially because they get more funding from immigrant students than they do from native students. So if they can get immigrant students, they get more funding and for like meal programs and all this stuff.
They treat them like customers.
Yeah.
And standards are lowered everywhere, and even these foreign students they don't get the education they should have got because they're treated like customers.
Yeah.
And then they don't respect their lecturers, and but there's so many academics, so the dime a dozen, and you can always shop around for an academic prepared to say what you want him to say.
It's just post-secondary is a waste of time. It should be for people who are like engineers or or carpenters or something like that. Like go to school for that instead of basket weaving or something.
Yeah, vocational training. I mean, that you still need people to do stuff, so let them do stuff instead of sneering at them for not going to university.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's too. Yeah, I don't know. Like there is a place for higher learning, but it's been so diluted. It's just everyone's just like, oh, just fucking burn to the ground because it's so polluted and so corrupt, and there's so much politics in it as well that you just kind of go like, well, why don't we just get rid of it altogether? Kind of destabilize the whole thing. But like you need trade schools, you need some vocational people, like, but I mean, most of these things like that are taught are just kind of nonsensical to begin with, and it would just be better off if someone just got job experience instead of learning these things at
Getting
school.
saddled with all that student debt for,
Yeah, yeah,
without having a job that's going to pay it back.
yeah. Well, this is the thing: is like, well, because our parents, they went to school and they found a middle class job, and then it's just like, well, there's more educated people in the pool now, but in economics is the higher the supply and the lower the demand, the cheaper it gets, right? So the cheaper you can pay people. The lower the supply, the higher demand, the more you have to pay people, right? So I don't know. Supply and demand, basically, economics, basic economics 101.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's always been a problem to manage labor. I mean, it's like you think of the Romans. It's like they had a few problems themselves. They had the plebs and the patricians, and the only way for the plebs to actually get their way was to all move out of Rome. It's like and leave the patricians to clean their own toilets, and then they'll beg them to come back and give them better conditions. But they had to move out, right?
yeah,
That was, I think it was called the secession or something. That they would have to. That was a special term for when all the plebs moved out of Rome until they got the better conditions that they asked for.
yeah,
Well, which kind of reminds me of Moses. It's sort of like the only way he could get, he and his people could get away from the terrible conditions of Egypt was just to leave, and that's why the Pharaoh said, no, you got to stay and build my pyramids. Who else is going to do it?
you build my pyramids. Explain that before. um, yeah, yeah, it makes sense. But I think that a lot of people would just be better off if they just started working as opposed to just uh, uh,
Yeah, there's no
going to
central
school,
planning
right?
for,
Yeah,
for, for this thing. It's like it's dangerous when if you allow too many lawyers in your society, because then there'll be, ambulance chasers. They'll get more creative about, making people litigate, and you're creating an extra layer of parasitism in your society. Plus your priesthood. And Islam. It's like the closest people you get to a priesthood would be the judges, the judiciary. So it's really, slimline, very efficient, and
yeah. You don't have all this bureaucracy or uh,
well,
administrators or all
yeah,
these clerks and all these like all these people that like you're trying to you make all these like silly laws to basically justify their existence. I think someone said a good average citizen commits crimes 4 times a day, or something like that. I don't know, like you commit a crime every day 4 times a day, and it's just like, or like you break these like arbitrary rules, right? And like these like bureaucrats, they sit in desk and think of like stupid things, and so that they can just be justified in getting paid and increasing their budget, uh, as opposed to
like
actually,
making
you know,
motoring offences a source of income.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they make the speed limit really low, so you can get people for just driving what they thought was normally, you
yeah,
know, because of that they need an income. That's why they keep giving people tickets and whatever.
yeah,
People hate that.
yeah. So if we can get rid of that parasite class, um, and encourage old Western values, I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh, Everyone started growing food again.
Yes. That's so radical now, isn't it? So radical.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be awesome if everyone just started growing food again. Like, it's not that hard. Like, because we're so conditioned, like, to not grow our own food, that we're like, we have all these like stupid mental blocks. And like, all it is, you put a seed in the ground, in the soil, you water it, it grows. Its natural its natural state is expansion. Like the seed is going to expand once it gets water. It's not really that hard. It's just like, we just got to weed.
Farmer.
Yeah.
Farmer
Just
son.
grow.
Are you growing anything interesting at the moment?
Like just planted some lettuce or whatever. Yeah.
It's quite satisfying.
I need to get land first. And then I'll start growing stuff. I'll get stuff going. Don't worry. I'll get a lot of stuff going once I get some land. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, talking about land, well, you're more likely to get land in where you are than, in crowded Europe, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. I could just start going in the middle of nowhere and just start growing a garden. But I don't know. I might get into trouble a little bit if I don't do it right. But if I don't, alert the authorities in the proper manner. But yeah, you could just start growing. You just start walking out in the middle of nowhere and just like start growing a garden. That's just the way that it is out here. Is you have to drive hours. I can't even imagine, like, people who live in New York, like there's a saying, like people who live in New York, like they never leave New York, or like even like people like who live in like a little island like Britain. Like a little island like Britain is not even like the size of a province. Like, it's crazy. or Sweden. Yeah, it's a whole country, but it's just like a country is like a continent. It's like half a continent. North America is the land of milk and honey, they say. You can pretty much grow a lot of things here. Like you won't go hungry. Like, there's a will, there's a way. Like, it's not like a desert like in the Middle East or Europe. I don't know. Remember somebody saying to me, like, yeah, North America is the land of the milk and honey. Like, a lot of things that are like, what was this saying? North American that are I think you say pineapples. Pineapples are North American. Cactuses are only grown in North America. There was some in Africa, but cactuses. What else is also grown in North America? There's actually a cat's tail. It's like, have you heard of cat's tail before?
Is it a plant?
Yeah, it's like from a swamp, basically. Like it's a plant that grows from a swamp, and at the end, the cattail, you can use it as like flour or oatmeal, or this kind of grainy kind of oatmeal kind of substance, I guess. If you mix it with water, it can turn into oatmeal, or you can use it as flour, I guess, as bread. Yeah, it grows in swamps, and I believe that's just a North American thing. It's grown in North America. There's lots in Canada too. It's like everywhere. It's abundant everywhere. But I don't know. You haven't heard of cattails before, Claire?
No.
They're probably not in Europe then. It's probably a North American thing. Yeah, no, it's quite a place. You should come visit sometime. Visit North America.
British Columbia on a skiing holiday a long time ago.
British Columbia. Oh man, that is probably like the most beautiful province of Canada, probably of the continent, I'd say. Yeah, if you were to go there, go there. If you were to go to like anywhere, go there. California is okay, but yeah, go to British Columbia. That's like probably the most beautiful province. The mountains are so magnificent, and the air is also really clear too. It's really different.
Yes.
I never realized how privileged I am actually, like living in such a big, vast continent where I can just like, I don't really need to go to different countries. I can just stay within my country and just go here and go there. It's amazing to think about. Anyway,
Oh, they look like
It
really.
would suck.
The
It would
cattail
suck.
is
I don't even
really.
know how you people live in that fucking squalor. Like, you guys are like so close together. Like, I don't get it.
Have you ever been to London?
No.
You have been to UK. Okay.
Yeah,
Have you
UK.
been to London? So
I like to see like the towers or the Parliament building. That seems pretty cool. It seems pretty. It's like it's almost the exact same as like Canada's Parliament building. Then you go to the US. Then you go to the US. It's like totally different. Like it's a dome and it's kind of like Roman, I guess. Or yeah, Parliament building. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got this sort of tower thing. It's Gothic, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. You can go up. Like there's an elevator there.
Mm-hmm. And Ottawa is your capital.
Yeah,
It?
Ottawa. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all classical. Yeah, neoclassical, isn't it? No,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the government conference centre. I should be looking at the Parliament building. Yes, I see it. It's all. It actually reminds me of some, scary haunted house kind of thing.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's kind of dark actually when I think about it. Yeah.
Gothic or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting theme. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. And then you're posting something about Canada being like a vassal state of Britain, and the government
Britain
like
being a vassal state of America, yes.
yeah. Yeah, like I would say like practically like the governor in like I guess technically the governor general can overrule a prime minister, but the prime minister gets to pick the governor general, helps to pick the governor general, which is basically the royal representative of His Majesty now, I guess. And so, the prime minister also appoints the senators as well too, or the cabinet. So like liberals appoint their own senators, conservatives appoint their own senators, and the NDP appoint their own senators. It's different from America, where America, they still elect senators. They actually elect judges in America too, which is, I haven't heard of that.
They're appointed, aren't they? Are they?
Yeah, appointed by NDP, liberals, and conservatives. So if there's like 50 conservative representatives, there'll be 50 conservative senators, and if there's like 60 liberals, there'll be 60 liberal senators. And yeah, they're not like swayed by partisan lines, so they actually have like conversations. But it's a little bit different being a senator as opposed to a politician, where you have to go with the party line or else you'll basically be outed. Yeah, it's kind of how it goes in those arenas. But yeah, that's.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong building. I was looking at the Quebec Parliament.
Oh, the Quebec. Yeah, Quebec is actually the most European like spot in America, North America.
Okay,
Like,
I'm finally now looking at the right building, which is kind of islandy thing with green roofs. Yes, that's your Parliament building. Oh no, am I even looking at the right place? It just seems to be.
Is this a big tall tower and then yeah?
Yes.
A big tall tower in the middle, and then it spreads out from both sides. And there's like a statue or a statue splash fountain. Yeah, Parliament Hill.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Well,
Yeah, I mean, every school practically did have Her Majesty the Queen on it. We just had Victoria Day, where we celebrated Queen Victoria and her contribution to Canada, which was just basically claiming land outright and nobody having any other rights. Great stuff. Did you know Queen Victoria? Did you know Queen Victoria actually there was a clause or in the in the proclamation, where she owned the land outright, and she basically had to do her royal duties to enforce this proclamation, and that and the developers at the time, like especially the American settlers, were very upset by this, and they couldn't really build much industry because of this. But yeah, she had absolute claim until she died. But near her end of her death, Prince Albert was her consortium, or consort. There we go.
Yes.
He wasn't royal, but he was married, or yeah, he was a. When Prince Albert died, she got depressed and she didn't really do her royal duties, and that gave the way for industrialists like the Northwest Bay Company and Hudson Bay Company. Hudson Bay Company is like the famous one that basically started industry with like fur trade, and started expanding the West and all that industry, and built the West, built civilization pretty much. But yeah, that's basically the story behind it. But yeah, Prince Albert is actually a city in Saskatchewan. So yeah, it's very royal. But like, there's like some, yeah, that's a city. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. Now I think about it, it's kind of like really the only kind of royal city. It makes sense because Queen Victoria, she basically owned like land from like Northwest Territories down to like the Western provinces. And so Prince Albert's like in Saskatchewan. So it's like right there. Like, oh, it makes sense. So interesting. But
Alberta's named after him, right?
Alberta, well, a lot of the provinces are kind of like Inuit, like even Canada is like an Inuit name, like or a First Nation name. There's like Saskatchewan, that's a First Nation name. Manitoba, First Nations. British Columbia, that's obviously British. Alberta, maybe a little bit influenced by that. King Albert, maybe. Oh, maybe that'd be. I don't know. Was it King Albert? I'm not quite sure who it would be. Prince Albert. Prince Albert.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'll look it up.
I'll have to look it up. I'm not quite sure, but like mostly the mostly First Nation names, actually. Most Canadian cities and provinces. So there's the odd like royal influence, obviously, but a lot of them are like First Nations too. So there's a lot of diversity in Canada. There's like Ukrainians, and like there's like streets with like Ukrainian names on it, and like there's First Nation, there's like Cree, there's the Dene, it's just like a mix of stuff. Like it's crazy. It's hard to believe that we can unite on anything, really. It's nuts. But yeah, that's basically Canada. Pretty diverse place. Yeah, it's you go from one place to the next, it's very different. Because like when people think of a country, they think of, oh, it's nationalist, oh, it's this, it's that. But if you go to Canada, it's like different everywhere. And then people kind of just look at Trudeau and it's like, oh, that's Canada. I'm like, it's not really Canada at all. There's a whole bunch of, there's a mosaic of like different opinions and stuff like that. Like all of our electoral system is basically based off of the Westminster first past the post system. So basically,
British. You're the one who told me that Canada.
yeah. No, and other Canadians will back this up too. There's other Canadian pundits that back this up too. But yeah, so it's first past the post, and Trudeau actually he ran on a platform of electoral reform where he had more equal representation throughout the nation, as opposed to whoever has the most votes, whatever that votes that you need, you get that seat and bam, right? It's not like an electoral college, right? And so usually what happens is all
It's
these,
called ABC or something
yeah.
like that.
So
Alternative.
what happens is those all of the like the populated areas would basically they'd stack them with all these seats. Like it's most of the parliamentary seats are in Southern Ontario and Quebec, and so basically, if an election went a certain way over in that particular area, like by the time we started counting votes in Manitoba, like the election was already decided. And it maybe like you'll decide if it's a minority government or a majority government, but yeah, so a lot of people are pissed off about that. That basically one part of the country gets to decide the rest of the fate of the other country. So yeah, there's like a lot of talk about Western separatism or Alberta separatism, and Alberta having having a lot of resources and trading their oil at fair market value and stuff like that. You're mentioning Keenan Bexty. He was commenting about the NDP losing the Muslim vote. That's quite fascinating. Usually, like, I'm trying to think of the NDP in Alberta, because I know the NDP in Alberta, they were elected in 2014. And so they probably have like a loyal kind of following for the immigrant Muslims, because immigrants usually just vote for the party that let them into the country. Yeah. And so that's quite fascinating that he's doing a piece about the Muslims turning on the NDP. That's quite interesting.
Unignorable.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a conservative now, but yeah, the conservative UCP. There was Jason Kenney. He was there, and then I guess he lost a lot of popular support. So they, so now it's Danielle Smith, the lady politician that leads Alberta, and she's acting. Well, I don't know. All the Western provinces are now trying to make their own policies of independence, and I think even Saskatchewan wants to have their own like tax collection agency and all that. So that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the world has in store, but
okay. While we're on the subject, I think white identity.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Princess Louis Carol. Oh, okay, Alberta. Okay, thank you. Daughter of Queen Victoria. Oh, okay. So it had to do something with Queen Victoria. There we go. That makes sense. I didn't know that.
Yes, and okay. So I'm saying that all these territories are still part of the British Crown and is connected to Britain, and they don't have their own independent foreign policy. And basically, Britain has kind of does
America basically dictates Canada's foreign policy
because it dictates British foreign policy. Europe is an occupied country, occupied by America, because of because of World War II and how the Europeans basically destroyed themselves. Right? I mean that was really how it happened to Europeans. And
yeah, they wouldn't let Germany be a third. They wouldn't let Germany be a player in the geopolitical game, so they couldn't have that. So, well, another thing too, Hitler kind of went crazy, but yeah,
they anything of it at the time because they were all anti-Semites, right? Nobody turned a hair. Everybody didn't like Jews, and it was like that for centuries. That's why. All this, oh, you're a Nazi now. It's just become even more hysterical the further we are away from World War II. Isn't that very suspicious? Really, these things should be, well, the further you are away from the event, the less it should affect you. But it just seems to have been, intensified all this sort of, hysteria about Nazis, which is just got up by the media. And it's not even about the Jews. It's like, Did you know that in Israel, the Jews can't deny their own Holocaust? What do you think that's about? Because it was actually administered as part of Britain. It's like everybody kind of has the same laws because, well,
In Canada, they just passed that actually last year.
yeah, because you have fewer rights. People in Australia and New Zealand and Australia and Canada have fewer rights than people in Britain. I mean, not that the British have that many more rights, but yes. So technically, Holocaust denial is not a crime in the UK, but actually it is because they got Alison Chabot on something else.
Yeah.
So she is treated as a Holocaust denier, even though technically she didn't deny it. People people just get so emotional they think that was it, but it wasn't. But I think they're just trying to make a point. They're trying to make a point that people are just not allowed to complain about anything anymore, and the national narrative is that Britain nobly sacrificed its global empire to save the Jews. Right? That is the story now. But actually,
the Balfour Declaration. With the Balfour
no, it
Declaration
was
of
an imperial war. Basically, Germany was up and coming, and Britain wasn't going to have any of it. So it started 2 world wars to stop Germany from rising up and eclipsing it as a European power. And basically Hitler thought was, well, the British have their marine empire, we'll just, get a bit stronger in Europe. I mean, well, surely they can't complain. Hitler's greatest mistake was thinking that Britain would be reasonable about it. And then he invaded Poland. And it's like, well, Poland is kind of Germany's backyard. There have been German kings in Poland, not that long ago in the 1700s. Because it was all part of the Holy Roman Empire. It was all mixed up in all kind of Germany,
yeah, like the Roman Empire kind of like mixed up. Like if you like Poland's are like part like Eastern European, like part Russian, Asiatic, and then you have like kind of this Germanic kind of mix in there too. Yeah, but the farther east you go, the more Asiatic and that you're like the Russians are. Well, Russia's pretty diverse to begin with, but you know what I mean, like the Asiatic peoples, I guess, like in Finland and
all empires are diverse because it's one country taking over all these other countries. So of course it's going to be multiracial and multicultural and that kind of thing. And Poland and Germany were kind of at one time I think administered under some I don't know what empire or whatever, but they're all mixed up together under the Holy Roman Empire. And it's like, sometimes I take your territory, sometimes you take mine, it happens. It's been happening for centuries. Nobody thought anything of it. But the British, because they were declining, were falling into their Thucydides trap, which is basically, there's another empire, rising up. We'll have to kind of smash them up before they get too big for their boots. That was basically the idea, and the British weren't going to admit it because they didn't do very well out of it. I mean, apparently they won the war, but they lost their empire. All the non.
I remember like old videos of like the Queen would actually used to visit like America. Like you'd go to like baseball games or whatever. It was like actually a big kind of cultural phenomenon. Like the Queen was like, well, technically I rule over you, but I don't want to like come across in the public that way. So I'm going to have like a friendly image and I'm going to have like a sense of humor and I'm going to be in commercials and I'm going to make the odd like, message at Christmas. And she actually did a pretty good PR scheme there, but Yeah. Now with this king is like king. He's just basically he's asking for allegiance to him, and I'm like, no, I don't think a lot of people will go for that. Um, so I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
the thing is, it actually serves a purpose for the Americans. That's what I've been trying to say.
Hmm.
Because if you think, if America has a global empire, it's another marine empire, right? America has two seaboards, the western and the eastern seaboard. The eastern seaboard faces the Atlantic, the western seaboard faces the Pacific, and basically it sends its battleships around the world to intimidate people. And before it can get to the Far East, it has to stop in Australia. And there was a time when the Australians said, no, we're not going to have your American US naval bases here, said Gough Whitlam in 1975, and he was sacked by the Governor General. Because basically Britain has to do whatever America says. Well, it doesn't have to, but it thinks it would be better for it if it did, and it's still doing it. And it's like, okay, we can understand Britain doing this sort of thing, but France and Germany doing what America says, it's crazy. It's like, well, there's going to be a war. It's going to blow up in Europe, and we're all going to get it in the neck, but nobody seems to care.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about like the Russia-Ukraine war yet? Like I heard they tried to assassinate Putin, and that didn't go over well. But I guess Putin has like a big meeting in South Africa coming up, and he wants to meet up with his he wants to make basically his own currency of their own trading basically, and become self-sufficient away from the petrodollar.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard anything about that?
I'm not following it in much detail.
Oh, okay.
But
So, yeah,
I'm sure they're trying to set up their own currency so they don't have to buy oil in dollars anymore. And
yeah, they'll basically have it in rubles.
The economy will collapse.
They'll have it in rubles.
Yeah.
And a lot of other countries.
Of maybe the yen and the whatever.
Yeah, like a lot of countries, they want to go back to the gold standard, and they want to make an alliance with Russia where they don't have to trade fiat petrodollar money, which is still our current state right now. But with the debt ceiling, have you heard anything about the debt ceiling?
It has
Joe Biden basically he's mad at the Republicans because they don't want to raise the debt ceiling, or that if they want to raise the debt ceiling, they can, but they have to reduce spending. And reducing spending would basically start out the welfare state, or a lot of the programs that, especially post-COVID, that they have promised on the people. So,
well, basically, people need to reintroduce slavery. And this is one of the more controversial ideas, but I'm saying it's a welfare state that has basically destroyed the work ethic of the West. And it makes its labor uncompetitive. And then it gets the businesses to say, oh, we'll just export our factories and get it made cheaper in another country.
Are you saying make slavery great again?
Not great, but it's sort of it has to be done. It has to be done, doesn't it? Because slavery is the only way.
Be like Pinochet, just like make people work on the fields.
No, it doesn't mean that you're going to be whipping your slaves and all that. Because actually the Romans, they had sort of slave tutors, slave nannies. It's not just picking cotton. Slave scribes, civil slaves. So a lot of the.
Well, what about like an unemployment program where you have to be doing something in order to get a stipend? That would be like more the National Socialist way.
Well,
Heard of
okay.
that idea?
You've heard of workfare, haven't you?
Yeah.
This idea that yeah, you're going to get some, welfare benefit, but they're going to make you work. And then they decided not do it because it was so inefficient, because actually you need to pay people to make sure that these people turn up for work, and if they don't, you have to go and look for them and punish them, or whatever it is that you need to. And then they decided it's too expensive, too much trouble, we'll just pay them. Just pay them to sit at home and watch TV and, masturbate and don't care. Just pay them because it's cheaper than supervising them. And it's like, well, slavery is really the best form of workfare.
So basically, like cut the funds out dry, like the welfare funds, and then people will be forced to work in some capacity, whatever that may be.
Exactly, because if you're a slave, it means that you really are potless. You need to work for somebody for free just to get food in your belly and a roof over your head. And the moment you create this idea, you will think, oh, but I mean, I could be the slave that nobody wants to buy. And this is an Old Testament curse. Did you know that? Deuteronomy 28. Curses for disobedience. So it was just going on the whole list of curses, and then at the end, and you will be sold as slaves, but nobody will want to buy you. It's like, what could be worse than being sold as slaves? Slaves that nobody wants to buy.
Are you speaking it's almost like a kind of revelation, kind of prophecy of Deuteronomy there?
No, I discovered this verse because every September there's something called Open London, where all these old buildings that are not normally open to the public are open to the public, and there's this synagogue in East London, and I visited it with a friend, and there was this caretaker. He wasn't a rabbi, but he was a kind of an actor, and he was given the job of showing all these Gentiles around and making a good story of it, and so he took the ark, the scrolls out of the ark, which is the cupboard where they keep their scrolls, and he unrolled it, and he was saying, well, every week we have to read this portion, this Torah portion, and then you think, oh, I can't read this to you, it's full of curses. And I mean, he was sort of thought he literally thought we'd be triggered and upset, and I was saying, but why? It's in the Old Testament. Surely these Christians should know about it. And he said, oh no, we can't read this. So he read us something gentler, and so I was curious. So at the time, I happened to have this Facebook friend who was a rabbi, so I complained to him, and he said, oh, just tell me what day it is and I'll tell you what verse it is. So he said, oh yes, this one, the curses. and he said, oh yeah, it's a bad curse, isn't it? You're sold as a slave and nobody wants to buy you. What could be worse than that? So
yeah, because a lot of people in the West, they find the idea of slavery reprehensible, or
it's an institution like marriage and prostitution. It's like it's an obvious bargain. It's like
you're still getting something for your labor. Some people would actually argue that slaves were more looked after than the modern wage worker, where the modern wage worker is not necessarily guaranteed a house or a place to rent, because rent might be too expensive, or food might be too expensive, or gas might be too expensive. Sure, they can pick their own work, but at the same time, you can't necessarily guarantee, because you have ebbs and flows of the economy. It could crash, or you can be let go, or lots of uncertainty.
This is quote, I can't get the exact words right, but this was describing the Chinese who apparently aspired for the stable conditions of slaves, and sometimes they got it, but most of the time they didn't. They just aspired to the stable conditions of slaves, without roof over head, food in belly, no need to worry about employment security, and sometimes they got it.
Well, sometimes you do need to whip people. I don't know.
Oh yes, yes. And the thing is, I have this idea of
A lot
humane
of assholes out
slavery.
there.
My idea is humane, because basically there would be protection. There would be the idea of manumission. So every slave has a manumission. Of course, there's a price. Has to work. However long, and they'll get paid, but it would be going towards their account. So when they worked a certain number of years or whatever, and they got whatever money that to manumit themselves, and they'll be free again.
Didn't they have something like that with the invention of the birth certificate? They they were supposed to, like, if the more that you worked, the more that you attributed to your estate, that the more, like, kind of excess funds that you'll get, or something like that. Like, isn't that what they did the birth certificate for? But then I guess private banks kind of hijacked it, and they just sold trade bonds on the market with it, as opposed to what it was original intent was to have kind of a, you work. I guess you could say like pensions, but pensions are really kind of a modern thing. Like, they're not really. It was just kind of it was just justification from the central banks to basically tax people more money. Pensions are not really. You're not going to get much, and these people that are in charge of it are just borrowing it away. So basically, I'm saying is, like, your birth certificate was supposed to be a bond, and, like, the more that you made money, the more you're a productive citizen, the more worth your bond was, and you would get a government would get a portion of that, and you would get a portion of that, at certain times, or whatever contract that you had. But that has been out to the wayside because we have fractional reserve banking, and they are dependent upon those bonds basically to write off those debts and then charge you taxes and fees and fines, and so that they can pay these people, useless people, bureaucrats, money, and have basically a dependent welfare state with the central bank. I think a lot of people overlook the central bank and the effects it has on society, because if you look at the fractional reserve banking and the welfare state, they're actually kind of one and the same, because they still keep printing money, but at the same time, when they print money to these people, they spend back into the economy, so it stimulates the economy, and it keeps it going, and it keeps it keeps them servicing their debts, and that's from the working class, so that they can still work, they can still have a job to go to, and they can still pay the national debt, whatever that is, that just seems to escape with interest. It's not meant to be paid off, it's meant to crash.
Yeah. And they keep finding ways of I mean, eventually, people would just stop lending you money. If you'd stop lending people money if you thought they'd never pay back, and then you'll just be completely screwed.
Yeah.
If you literally will be enslaved if you literally have nothing, because you're borrowed so much that the people who lent you money suddenly realize that they're never going to pay it back, and they stop lending it to you. And this is going to happen to the West soon.
Oh yeah, the credit score.
Yeah. It's like, well, we know we're not stupid. We know you're never going to pay it back, so we're going to stop lending.
Yeah.
We'll just cut our losses.
Yeah. or just hyperinflation or whatever.
Yeah, we don't
Stuff
know.
gets so expensive, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, Islam would help in being this bargaining counter, like saying, well, if you want to, I mean, to people who hate it, you can say to them, look, you're all up over your heads in debt, and if you adopt Islam, then you can default on your debts.
Yeah.
Governments and individuals, and then you can start again. You can rebase your currency using whatever system. So I think that that would be an excellent bargaining counter to make people, even the people who hate the idea, it's like, yeah, we'll take it because at least that will just stop us having to pay again and again for generation after generation as the debt ceiling is raised again and again until it can never be paid off. And then it'll just make everybody kind of not work properly.
Oh yeah, people will stop working because it'll be too much to really even bother trying to pay off, or even trying to service to pay off. And so, yeah, I guess that's why you have the welfare state. No one wants to work anymore because basically you get taxed a third of your income, and your third of the income supposedly goes to, I guess you get employment insurance, and then you get part of it to your pension supposedly, and then the rest just basically goes towards the government. But the government basically has an unlimited credit card, so they're not really spending properly. They're just
wasting.
They're just using that money just so that they can keep their credit rating up, and so they can still borrow money. But at which point, if you still can't pay off that debt, and you have interest on that debt, and you're only servicing the interest payments, when does it come to a point where it's too much debt? And yeah, like you said, you just have to default. Like I don't even think most money that's in existence nowadays is digital. It's not even physical money. It's digital. It's not even physical paper currency. They just put it on a screen and say, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll give you $10,000." It's not like the bank said, "Here's the $10,000 you're counted out for you." No, they just put a digit, transfer it to an account, done, right? And then that's why in the banks you have a limit of how much you can withdraw, because if people could withdraw with how much they had in their bank account, there'd be no money in the bank machines. I just thought of that too. I was like, oh yeah, that's why there's a limit. Yeah. So that's why you have to go there and ask them why you need it and stuff like that. But yeah, because because you just basically have a empty bank machine, right? So I don't know, but yeah, it's just digits and numbers written on paper and not really tied to anything hard. Like constitutional money is like money. A debt can only be repaid by hard assets such as gold or silver or whatever. The debt notes we have today, right, or the debt notes we have today is all it's all promissory notes. It's all promise to pay. It's all debt notes, pretty much. It's not like wealth. That paper itself is not wealth. It's just a note that says you accept it for value for $10, right? I accept this payment for $10 because it says $10 on a piece of paper. Oh, okay, cool. For goods and services, right? So it is a medium of exchange, but it's not tied to hard assets. Like gold is limited. You can only mine so much gold at a time, right? Whereas paper money, you can just print it ad infinitum, right? As long as there's paper, and paper is easy to make, it's everywhere. So when people say, money doesn't grow on cheese, Yes, it does. It comes from paper. It does grow on trees in a way. You want to get esoteric that way, but it was kind of funny. And when I was growing up, like, you think money grows on trees? Actually, kind of, because it's made out of paper, and paper comes from trees, so it does technically. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even bother printing money now because they just, do it electronically, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, is like nobody really. Yeah, it's all tied into. I guess that's why I've heard of stories of like the people in like Titanic. The reason that they died, I guess, some conspiracies, is that they were fighting against the central bank, and they didn't want a central bank. There was like presidents, like I think Benjamin Franklin. Was it Benjamin Franklin? Like he wanted to bring back the greenback, where it was like gold back money, pretty much. Like it was like gold certificates. And then in like 1933, Roosevelt brought in the basically he made it illegal for anybody to have gold assets or have gold as payment. So they had to hand in all their gold certificates or their gold into the bank, or else they'd be arrested or charged $10,000 at the time, whatever. And so they got rid of all the gold. So they basically just have a whole bunch of debt notes now. They don't have any really hard assets since, well, people would say 1913. I guess the government did it in 1933 everywhere, pretty much. And now we're just in this like bankrupt system that's just meant to crash. It's designed to crash, and we're taught, that money is. We're not even taught really anything of finance in school or anything like that. Like, we're not even taught to budget or anything like that. We're just taught just to basically do really complicated math.
So
Yeah.
they can enslave us.
Yeah.
So according to Wikipedia, it says greenbacks were emergency paper currency issued by the United States during the American Civil War that were printed in green on the back. They were in two forms: demand notes and United States notes. I don't know the difference. I actually thought greenback was just a slang for money, which of course it is, but it's a special kind of money.
Yeah, I think it's like it's more tied to hard assets other than gold. I'm thinking that that's what the greenback is. It was like tied to like land and how much you own, and it wasn't like some arbitrary number or whatever,
It says it's a form of fiat money. The notes were legal tender for most purposes and carried varying promises of eventual payment in coin, but were not backed by existing gold or silver reserves.
Oh, they weren't backed by? I thought they were. Oh.
No, because if it's emergency money, it would be even more flaky than normal money, right? Because it was issued during the American Civil War, when I guess they were borrowing money to buy arms and stuff.
Oh yeah, I guess if they're like they had their own bank or something like that, and then they're printing it. Oh, maybe that's why. During
the Civil War, 1860.
Did you know that in Canada, like in parts of Canada, they use like playing cards as currency?
Really?
The beginning days. Yeah, you ever use anything as currency?
Right. Yeah. Yes. If you agree to, accept it as a token for, the Queen of Hearts means you owe me $10, something like that.
Yeah, like people call Canadian money monopoly money because it's colored. It's because American money, it's all one color, but Canadian money, like each bill has its own color. Like $5 bill is like blue, $10 bill is purple, $20 bill is green, $100 bill is like gold, kind of goldish color.
Yeah. That's the same system for most countries. There's only America that has the same color and the same size.
Yeah,
throughout.
yeah. It just is just the numbers are different,
Mm.
and they have the weird pyramid in their money. It's the
Oh, right, the Masonic.
Illuminati. Yeah, the Masonic. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Hmm.
Do you know any Freemasons?
Yes, I did know two that I can think of.
There's a
Why do
lot of
you ask?
people. Well, there's a lot of people who like to disparage Freemasons for being like dark and misleading people or
You make them sound like Jews.
kind of, yeah. It's another out group pretty much. But basically, it's just like from what I heard, like it's like I've actually heard like advertisements like, "Hey, we're at the Masonic Temple. We're gonna have a barbecue, or we're gonna have this fundraiser and stuff like that." Like, so I'm not quite sure exactly. I know there's 33 degrees of Freemasonry, and then there's like the Scottish Rite, right? Sorry. Uh, uh, Dude was talking about that. Like he was like in touch with his Scottish roots, and he was like a Mason or something. I'm not sure what it was. Did you hear like Duvid's like a part Mason?
Right, no, I missed that.
Yeah, he was mentioning like, oh yeah, I'm in touch with my Scottish roots. I'm like a part Mason or like
Yeah.
like he's like a Scottish Rite is like a 32nd or like 30th degree Mason. But
Mhm.
Masonry, from my understanding, is just basically a whole bunch of knowledge from like other religious texts like Judaism, Islam, Christianity, like Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, all that Vedic traditions, and it's kind of like melded into this kind of one thing. But there's I've heard of ways that like some people can like if they're like in high prominent positions, they can get fast tracked into the 33rd degree. Like if they're like a popular politician or if they're like um uh, or if they're a media pundit or anything like that, anything that would bring about like this kind of one world government, they get fast tracked to the 33rd degree. But like the thing is, the 33rd degree is a lot more secretive than the rest of the degrees because it's like it's their own special club kind of thing. So I don't know, like the
Mhm.
people down there, like, oh, you're the bad people having a barbecue, but they're just trying to like enlighten themselves and give themselves more wisdom. They seem to be kind of like the front. They're like the scapegoats almost, like, but it's actually the 33rd degree people that actually are kind of, I guess, would be nefarious. Some of them would be nefarious, some of them would be good, some of them would be bad, but I guess you have good and bad people in all groups, so you can't really fault them all. But yeah, there has been times where like people got fast tracked and they just went to the 33rd degree. But
Have you
that's the
considered becoming a
conspiracy
Mason?
behind. Pardon?
Have you considered becoming a Mason?
No, I wouldn't. No.
Why
I
not?
don't. I don't see any point. I don't see any point. Well, I guess like maybe the camaraderie or whatever. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, but because I,
you
I
just kind of I could just check it out. Like hey, let's have a barbecue or whatever. I don't consider. I don't want to be a 33rd degree. I haven't considered being a 33rd degree Mason. Maybe I could just check it out or whatever. But yeah,
well, I have a little theory about it, which is that okay, if the purpose of Masonry is benign, then it would be to get all the Abrahamic religions under one roof, under one fraternity, and then when it's safe for Jews and Muslims to gang up and tell the Christians that they've been guilty of idolatry, and then the Christians will be truly repentant and then repent and give up Christianity and I mean that's the only benign reason I can think of, to include all the Abrahamic religions. And I know there's some controversy over whether, Hindus and Buddhists and Sikhs and people like, these groups can join. And I think the original purpose is only Abrahamic religions because of their uh, unstated objective.
Yeah, Islam is like kind of like the be all kind of end all religion. It's just like the all encompassing religion. It's the binding religion for all the Abrahamic faiths, that they can just come under this one umbrella and they can live under this kind of banner of peace.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it accommodates Jews and Christians.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Jews would want to execute Christians for their idolatry,
Right.
and yes, and Christians would yes want to execute Jews and Muslims for not agreeing with them,
Yeah,
for not worshiping Jesus.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and the whole thing is actually Christianity was used for the purpose of supporting the divine right of kings.
That's
Because
true. Yeah. Well, that came from the Catholic Church.
yeah, but the Catholic Church was what's the word? It came from Rome, and at the time everyone was Catholic. Every time, I mean, all Christians were Catholics because that was what it was meant to be until Protestantism and until all the other groups said, no, we're going to go our own way, we don't like you, Pope, we don't trust you, we're going to interpret the Quran, sorry, the Bible in our own way. But I mean, the thing is, it hasn't really protected monarchy because it's given way to liberal democracy.
It's funny. I'm actually seeing memes about like from the king's coronation of like I promise to keep all the tenets of Sharia law. Like these kind of funny memes. Like he's like mentioning.
I see. Yeah, that's so funny. Can you see? Can you link it?
Oh shit! I just saw it on Twitter, but I should have saved it. I hope
Who
I
is it?
reposted it. It might have been this like this journalist Chong guy, Milo Chong. I don't know. Is it Milo Chong? Chang Tong?
Yes, yes.
You know who I'm talking about?
Ian Miles
I
Cheong or
think he
something like
posted
that.
it. I think he posted it. So it was like
Okay.
a couple weeks back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's been posting stuff about like this kid that's like this black kid on TikTok that's been like uh causing a ruckus, walking into people's
Oh yes, and
houses
he's
and
British, and
yeah,
well, yes, and they were saying he's British, and all the white British people saying he's stop giving the impression that he's white,
yeah. Or
something
some
like that.
people he was born in Britain. He's a British black
Yes,
man.
yes, he's a British black, I guess, if you want to call him
Well,
that.
he kind of looks like he has like high cheekbones. He looks like Victorian. Like he has those old Victorian kind of genes. You know what I'm talking about?
What, the black guy or Ian
Yeah, the black
Miles?
guy, the high cheekbones. Doesn't he just look like an old kind of Victorian kind of thing? Like
I
his
don't
face
know.
is very. You notice his high cheekbones?
I noticed his high cheekbones, but
Yeah,
it did make me think of
that's like
Victoria.
old Victorian kind of genes. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
really?
pretty. That goes
Okay.
way back. Yeah, like even like there's some like First Nations in Canada. Like if you go rural enough, because they've been so isolated from the rest of society, like they haven't been intermingled, that they'll still have this kind of old look to them, like this old kind of high cheekbone Victorian kind of look to them, because of the British that came in, or the
Oh, you think so? I mean,
yeah.
not everybody has high cheekbones. I mean, some people do, and some people don't. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think. I mean, it's not even a racial thing because they are.
No, it's not. It's almost it, it it's not even racial. It transcends race. Like because like I said, there's even First Nations people that kind of look kind of old, kind of look ancient or whatever back in the past or whatever. Because like everyone's kind of like mixed, you know, like it's been diverse enough, but sometimes there's just genes that are just so isolated. But I don't know. His face just looked really like, yeah, it was kind of odd. I was like, huh. Like it really stuck out to me. I don't know, maybe just because I'm from Canada and like I kind of spot these things. But yeah, it is, it's really weird. But yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, he's like, I guess he turned himself in. They said.
Oh, they said he was arrested and he was allowed to. Well, he wasn't charged or something like that.
I wasn't charged.
He was arrested but not charged, or I don't know. Nothing much is going to happen to him. I think that's what I got the impression.
Because he's black.
Maybe, or maybe he didn't actually hurt anyone. He just trespassed.
Yeah, he just kind of I guess trespassing, like maybe you get a fine or something like that, or I don't know what.
He attacked that Jew. Did you see?
Oh yeah, that's how he got in trouble. Yeah, he was doing anti-Semitic thing. I didn't see that video though.
I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
I didn't retweet it, but yes, I did see it somewhere.
Oh dang!
But
it's probably down now.
The Jew was just sort of had his back turned to him, and he kind of jumped on the Jew, and the Jew.
Oh, he jumped him. Oh shit!
And then he said, "Oh no, I don't just do it to Jews. I do it to other people too."
I guess that'd be assault, so that's probably why he got into trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably he always takes it up a notch. Like I saw him, he's like trying to get into this guy's car, and it's like, oh, is this an Uber? Is this an Uber? He's the guy's like, get out of my car, get out of my car. He's like, no, this is an Uber, right? Right? And like he just doesn't give a shit. He knows what he's doing, right? And the guy looked like he wanted to fight him, and then I don't know, then he just eventually drove away, or they just went to the house and they're like, oh, is this study time? Is this study time? Well, this is where the study group is, right? He always has this kind of elaborate excuse of why he went in. I don't know. But yeah. Then I guess like his followers are like going into stores and like knocking over shelves and just doing mischief pretty much. Or he was at a library and he was like ripping up pages and books. And
okay.
yeah,
I found it for you, John. I'm going to post it in the chat. All right, there you go.
Clear call saves the day. How many people are watching this?
Hardly anyone.
Jeez.
But they might come later. I don't know. I mean,
okay. I did there's like no comments. There's like no comments. I usually have like.
See, I'm not on my own channel anymore. I'm I've got 38 subscribers. It's pretty pathetic, but there we are.
I got 6.
Okay, we're starting from scratch again.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's like I sometimes what I do is I just go on different channels and I go on different people's panels, and like some people will like look at my videos later on like, oh, good work, John, and then they'll give me a thumbs up, then they'll subscribe, and I don't know, sometimes that works. Maybe you just need to go on more panels. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do that, but sometimes it's like I'm trying to get invited to people's channels. Preferably with a bigger channel than me, than just But it won't be that hard to have a bigger channel than me now. Yeah.
You had over 1,000 subscribers, didn't you?
1.4 I had.
1.4. I had over 100. Yeah. I didn't even post that much either.
Yeah, okay. This reminds me. Okay. I know he's a rabbi. He's a Facebook contact, and he does. He's an Orthodox Jew, and so he wants to say something about Christian idolatry, and so he's kind of getting around to making the point. But anyway, he recently said, "Well, I wonder why it is that every time I stream, I lose 10 subscribers." So they're doing it to him on Facebook.
Oh no! Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently Jewish identity, sort of not allowed to be discussed either. So they complain. No,
Yeah.
nobody's really allowed to to talk. I mean, I think you can talk about identity if you're gay or transgender or female, but that's about it. And everybody else is to, shut up about their identity.
Yeah, that's the orthodox of the day.
Yeah.
You're not
So
talking
really,
about
the
castrating children. Yeah.
yeah. So with regard to identitarian politics, it's basically that they're going to take away our individuality, because it's like it doesn't matter where you come from. If you're male or female, it doesn't matter. You're just a unit of human to us.
Yeah.
And I don't think we like that. I mean, it's sort of like, yeah, you're allowed your names. And, oh, we're just going to give you numbers. Oh, we're going to take away your number from you. You're just going to be a category. And then maybe they'll just take that away from you, and then you're just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's part of the globalist plan.
Makes us easier to control. And it has to be fought back with. I think okay, the point that God, if he exists, is a nationalist is easily made, don't you think? It's like, well,
Like the 12 tribes of Israel, or the
yeah,
or
and
Islam with national characteristics. Insert national characteristics. Like
yes,
the one of the big tenets of Islam is to basically make it your culture, as opposed to, as long as it's not haram, of course, but
yeah. So basically, you get to keep your culture provided it's in harmony with Quranic principles, and what isn't, you leave out, which is a good thing. I mean, it's so. But you still get to keep your culture, and it's still your thing. So I just don't see what the problem is. I mean, but
well,
maybe
Islam is globalist, and them Muslims are coming in and they're invading us Christians. I don't know. Sorry.
I mean, are there any Christians now really, or are they just people who go to church? I think that's a different thing, isn't it? I think, to be properly Christian, you really have to believe that Jesus is God, not just anybody who goes to church, because because then you're just using it as a community center.
Yeah, it's just basically like I like these churches are kind of like, they have their own like pod of like interpretation of the Bible, and so if you're not with it, you're going to ask a lot of questions, and then when you ask a lot of questions, they kind of get mad at you, like, hey, what's this guy doing? He's interrupting our flow. Like, we're supposed to be having snacks afterwards, and this guy is just raising up a lot of issues and asking a lot of questions and asking us what we mean. And it's like, yeah, like, hello, this is a study session. Yeah, so it just seems like it's really discombobulated at this point, especially with all the different denomination churches. It doesn't seem like there's really any cohesion, as opposed to Islam. Islam is more cohesion, as opposed to
Actually, there's a
Christianity.
verse warning Muslims against dividing their religion into sects and rejoicing in their own doctrines. So,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the reason is clear. It sort of it seems to me to be a warning against representative democracy too, because you're basically dividing the religion of your country, your political religion, into groups and fighting each other for the sake of fighting each other, which is stupid.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I kind of enjoy debating sometimes. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I use it to kind of sharpen. It's like there's always I guess there's a kind of saying of like, if the devil wasn't here, how would we ever learn our lessons? I guess. So if there wasn't, if everything was just good all the time, how would we ever learn our lessons and mature and grow, kind of thing? Because we always learn from our mistakes, right? I guess
Well,
that's
we're meant to.
yeah. So I guess this is kind of just a battlefield of ideas and testing and seeing who will mature and grow and who will just stagnate and spiral out into nothing, into platitudes, into virtue signaling, or who will rise up with truth, morality, and logic.
Yeah. So, William's asking questions about you.
Uh-oh. Who is this? Oh, in the chat or no?
No, on Telegram.
Oh, on Telegram. What did he say?
He said, okay, this guy said he had a channel, and on Twitter he says he is a social media influencer. Did you say that?
Yeah, I put it on my Twitter.
I'm looking for him before I leave my home, and I cannot find anything on him or from him.
Well, I got my YouTube channel deleted, so.
I asked Muslims in Canada if they knew him, and no one seems to. I asked brothers involved in dawah and debate, and they also haven't heard of him. What is his channel? That's what he said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I did have like I did hang out with some Sunnis in Canada.
You still have your channel, don't you?
The what?
I mean, your new one.
Yeah, it's just Jon Vance, but I even tried searching it. It's not even coming up.
Because it's so small.
Yeah.
Okay.
It used to come up. Now it doesn't.
You've been shadow banned.
I've been shadow banned. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, yes, I can see it. I can see it.
You can see it? You can see it? Really? Oh, okay, good. Okay.
I can give him the link to it.
Cool.
There we are.
Yeah, it's my new channel, so yeah, no, I mean, it's such a big community. He's from America and I'm from Canada, so I know I was with the guy. He was like a bus driver, and like he traveled from Canada to the United States, but that's all I really will say. But yeah, I don't know if even really. I think a lot of Muslims I knew like kind of left after during the pandemic. They just left. So now I got to start from scratch pretty much. So it kind of sucks.
Oh, so you have to start from scratch doing what?
Yeah, like with my social circle with other Muslims in Canada because of the pandemic. Like I had it going, and then the restrictions made it kind of hard to pray all the time, and I don't know, and just.
But you just had Ramadan, so I guess you must have.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. It just seems like I'm just like debating, like, like I'm gonna go back in there and I'm gonna have to start from scratch again. It just feels like, I don't know. I guess I could try, but
you debate with other Muslims rather than.
I'd rather debate. Yeah, like I like these format of debating and meeting people like this that are educated, and as opposed to a social circle with people from different cultures. No offense, but and I had a good kind of chat with like Egyptian Muslims in real life, and Pakistani Muslims and stuff like that. They'd show me their culture or whatever. It was fine, but I really like debating Muslims. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually go up to the imam if there's like a really prominent imam. I think there was, and I actually asked him about the Trinity, and he gave me a really good answer. It took like half hour to answer it. It was awesome.
What did he say? Can you remember?
Yeah. I'll radiate it as much as possible, but he basically said, well, how could there be a co-creator equal of God, of a dead man who is a co-creator, who is equal status of the creator of Allah, And and this whole idea of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Well, who is first, who's last? How could there be one and three? How can you make God one and three? It doesn't make any sense. The idea of the cross, it's an idol. No one died for your sins. Allah had what Allah did for Jesus was basically, he said, let Jesus be born of a Virgin Mary, and he said, let it be. He didn't impregnate her or anything like that. It's not God's offspring. It's just part of God's creation, that Jesus was born of a virgin, from a virgin mother. So that's basically what he said. A lot of Christians say, well, what do you mean? God must be the offspring. No, it's part of God's creation. God, you don't say, a tree is a co-equal to God just because it's God's creation. So why would you say Jesus is a co-equal of creation? Right? This is kind of the line of reasoning with Jesus's life and how he was born to death.
Well, I've solved the mystery of the Trinity. Do you want to know my solution to the mystery of the Trinity? Because it does sound a bit weird, isn't it? Well, I mean, why would Jesus be the co-equal? Why would the Son be the co-equal of the Father and the Holy Spirit?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is that Christians got tired of losing arguments to Jews who would say, well, our God didn't get crucified, our God didn't die, and he didn't go to hell and then get to heaven. None of this ever happened to him because our God is not a man, our God is God, and your Jesus, well, what's all this? And you can't even prove it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was why it wasn't enough to say that Jesus was divine, in the same way that any offspring of Zeus, for example, would be divine. So basically, that was the reason why Jesus had to be co-equal to the Father and the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, Jesus or the Christian God would be obviously less powerful than the God of Israel. Yeah. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And this is the only reason why the Trinity was created. Because at the Council of Nicaea, the bishops couldn't agree because there were, these Arians who said, well, that's a story that most people will be able to accept. And the Trinitarians said, no, because we know the Jews are going to say this, and, you're going to, eventually you'll have to go Trinitarian. But it didn't happen immediately because obviously it was too, Constantine, although he was preparing to Christianize Rome, he didn't convert until his deathbed. So it was his son who was an Arian, and then when he died, it flipped over to Trinitarianism with the Edict of Thessalonica in the year 380.
Well, yeah, that's you had you had Constantine basically, like, Romans would adopt it because they looked at the emperor as basically a priest or a god. And so because Constantine accepted on his deathbed, and then Constantine's son adopted it, therefore it just it was spread throughout Rome. And I guess that's why people say all roads lead to Rome, right? Because that's basically where Christianity was proselytized and brought out and attempted to universalize around the world.
I think actually all roads, physical roads, also led to Rome because obviously to administer and reach parts of their empire, the Romans had to build roads, and that was what they did too.
They built really good roads that didn't get
As
potholes.
straight
I heard.
as straight as
Yeah,
a Roman road.
yeah, like
Yeah,
with bricks and everything, not this cheap pavement, fucking asphalt. Get potholes all the time, and I can fill it
yeah,
every freaking spring. Yeah,
potholes and things.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I solved the mystery of the Trinity.
There you go.
So, so I
So William? So William is just asking me about where I am, or like what
Well, he's
mosque?
sort of saying you're not really who you are, but I've known you.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yeah,
because his circle of friends doesn't know who I am, so I must not say who I am. Oh, okay. Okay,
I
buddy.
sort of got the impression that he said he wouldn't be debating you, but I better check.
Yeah,
Um,
let's get this debate on.
yeah, I think he might
Let's
try to
bring in a
avoid.
couple viewers.
Yes, I
Big fat
know.
name.
I tried.
Does he like to debate? Does he debate it before?
Yes, yes. Well, we've spoken a few times, and I've given him the link to your channel, so hopefully he will go there and
I
maybe
have a
YouTube.
couple videos. It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah,
Start.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You wanted me to go on your channel. I was
Well,
happy to
I
do.
wanted him to go on my channel and debate if that's possible,
Right, right. Well,
so he
perhaps you
doesn't
can.
feel like he's getting ganged up on.
Yes. So I hope you can arrange this with him. I mean, I've given you his Telegraph
Okay.
handle and all that, so you can arrange it with him,
Yeah.
I guess.
Sounds good.
All right then.
All right.
Great talking to you.
Yeah.
And all right,
All
take
right.
care and keep in touch.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.